Commander Zalvex stared at the forbidden sector on the navigation screen. The small region of space looked empty and unimportant, but for 3,000 years every spacefaring race had been ordered to avoid it. His large eyes blinked slowly, as he thought about what he was about to do. "Are you sure about this?" asked Laren, his second-in-command. Her green scales shimmered under the soft lights of the bridge. Breaking the oldest law of the Galactic Concord is not something to take lightly. Zalvex's four-fingered hand tightened around the datapad holding the strange energy readings. "Look at these numbers again, Laren. Whatever is in Sector 17339, it's not primitive or natural. These patterns suggest advanced technology, maybe even more advanced than our own." The starship Distant Horizon hummed quietly around them. It was a small research vessel, perfect for their unauthorized mission. The 12 crew members were all scientists who shared Zalvex's curiosity about the mysterious sector. "The Council has kept this area off limits for thousands of years," Laren said. Her voice was low, worried. "There must be a reason." "Yes, and I think the reason is what scares me," Zalvex replied. "What if they're hiding something that could help end the resource wars? Something that could save millions of lives?" Laren had no answer for that. The ongoing conflicts between the outer systems had claimed too many lives already. If there was even a small chance of finding technology that could help, maybe the risk was worth taking. "The official records say this sector contains only one inhabited world," Zalvex continued. "A planet called Earth with a pre-spaceflight species. But these energy signatures tell a different story." He pointed to the spikes in the readings. "These aren't random, they're controlled, purposeful. And the Council knows this?" "I believe they do, which makes me wonder what else they know." Outside the viewports, the stars stretched in endless patterns. 87 intelligent species had joined the Galactic Concord, sharing knowledge and resources across thousands of worlds. But there were secrets too, whispered about in the lower levels of space stations and hidden research facilities. Zalvex had heard the rumors his whole life: the forbidden sector, the quarantine, the one rule no one ever broke, until now. "Set course for the boundary," he ordered. "Minimal power to engines. I want us to slip in quietly." The navigation officer, a young female named Vril, entered the coordinates with obvious nervousness. "Course laid in, Commander. We'll reach the boundary in 6 hours. Good. And make sure our sensor shield is active. We don't want to announce our presence." As the crew prepared for their illegal entry into Sector 17-339, none of them noticed the small automated beacon that activated as they changed course. Far away, on a monitoring station hidden in the darkness between stars, an alert began to flash. Alan Garner yawned as he poured his third cup of coffee. The night shift at Earth Defense Command was usually quiet, which was exactly how he liked it. 38 years old with graying hair and tired eyes, Alan had seen enough excitement earlier in his career. "Anything interesting, sir?" asked Mason, the young technician who had joined the watch team last month. "Just the usual traffic," Alan replied. "Mining ships heading to the Saturn rings, passenger transports to the Mars colonies, research vessels." He stopped suddenly, eyes fixed on a small blinking light on his screen. "Sir?" Mason leaned closer. "Is something wrong?" Alan set down his coffee and began typing rapidly. The system responded with a series of detailed scans and data readouts. "We've got a boundary alert. Sensor beacon 14 picked up an approaching vessel." "Another false alarm?" "I don't think so." Alan's voice was tense now. "The signature doesn't match any of our ships, and it's definitely not a meteor or space debris. This is a powered craft, using some kind of drive technology we haven't seen before." The EDC Operations Center was buried deep underground, protected by layers of security and deception. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth was home to a primitive species just beginning to explore their own solar system. The truth was far more complex. Alan pressed the secure communication button on his console. "This is Special Agent Garner. I need to speak with Captain Miller immediately. We have a Code Sentinel situation." 5 minutes later, Captain Diane Miller's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was serious, professional. Talk to me, Alan. We've got an unauthorized approach, Captain. One vessel, approximately 60 meters in length, currently moving at low speed toward the outer boundary. Their drive signature matches Antarian technology. Miller frowned. Antarians? They're usually rule followers. What would they be doing here? Unknown, but they're running with minimal power and using sensor shields. They're trying to slip in, undetected. How long until they cross the boundary? Alan checked the calculations. About 5 hours at their current speed. Miller was quiet for a moment, thinking. Alert the Intrepid. I want them ready to intercept, but keep them dark until I give the order. And wake up Dr. Wright's first contact team. Looks like they're finally going to earn their pay. Yes, Captain, what about the outer warning boys? Leave them inactive, let's see what these visitors are after. The screen went dark, and Alan turned to his team. You heard the captain. Level 3 alert quiet protocol. Nobody talks about this outside this room. As the EDC began its carefully planned response, Alan couldn't help but wonder what was motivating this breach. For centuries, the rule had held firm. Sector 17339 was forbidden territory. Some alien species claimed it was cursed. Others said it contained terrible weapons from an ancient war. All Alan knew for sure was that humanity had used the galaxy's fear to hide and prepare, and now someone was about to discover the truth. Back on the distant horizon, Zalvex reviewed the historical records about Earth. The data was sparse and old. The last official survey had been conducted over 500 years ago, reporting a planet with simple agricultural societies and early industrial development. It doesn't make sense, he muttered to himself. Why maintain a quarantine around such a primitive world for thousands of years? Commander, called Vril from her station, we're approaching the boundary. Zalvex stood and walked to the front viewport. There was nothing visible that marked the border of the forbidden sector, just the endless void of space and distant stars. But every ship in the Concorde was programmed with these coordinates, a line they must never cross. Slow to 1/4 speed, he ordered. Continue sensor sweeps. Sir, the science officer reported. The energy readings are stronger now. There's definitely something active in this sector, and it's not primitive technology. Laren joined Zalvex at the viewport. Last chance to turn back, she said quietly. He shook his head. We've come too far. The Council has kept this secret for too long. Whatever's in there, the people deserve to know. Crossing boundary in 3, 2, 1, Vril announced. The distant horizon slipped silently across the invisible line that had held firm for 3 millennia. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then the ship's systems began to register something new. Commander, the science officer's voice was alarmed. I'm detecting multiple energy signatures activating around us. They weren't there a moment ago. Show me, Zalvex demanded. The main screen displayed their surroundings. Where seconds before there had been empty space, now dozens of small objects were appearing, shedding some kind of cloaking field. What are they? Laren asked. Unknown, the science officer replied. But they're generating a complex scanning field. We're being analyzed. Before Zalvex could order evasive action, the ship shuddered violently. We're caught in some kind of energy net, Vril reported, frantically working her controls. Engines are not responding. The communications array activated by itself, and a face appeared on their screen, a species Zalvex had never seen before. 2 eyes, a small nose, a mouth with flat teeth. The being wore some kind of uniform with unfamiliar symbols. Attention unidentified vessel. The creature spoke in perfect galactic standard. You have entered restricted space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Zalvex felt a chill run through his body. This was impossible. The record said this sector contained only pre-spaceflight primitives. How is this possible? He whispered. Laren's voice was barely audible as she replied. The records were wrong. Or they lied to us all. As the distant horizon drifted helplessly, in the grip of the unknown technology, Zalvex realized they had made a terrible mistake. They had broken the one rule everyone followed, and now they would discover why. Captain Diane Miller walked briskly through the corridor of the EDC warship Intrepid. Crew members stepped aside and saluted as she passed. At 45 years old, Miller had earned her command through 15 years of dedicated service to Earth. Defense Command. Status report, she ordered as she entered the bridge. Lieutenant Richard Okonkwo looked up from his station. The alien vessel is fully contained in our holding field, Captain. They've made no attempt to break free. Miller nodded and took her seat in the command chair. The main screen showed the sleek, crystalline alien ship suspended in space. It was beautiful in its own way, with flowing lines that reminded her of underwater creatures from Earth's oceans. What about their communications? She asked. They've been silent since our initial contact, replied Communications Officer Lisa Patel. But their internal communications are active. They're discussing options. The Intrepid was Earth's newest defense vessel, equipped with technology that most humans didn't know existed, let alone alien civilizations who thought Earth was home, to a primitive species barely able to reach their own moon. Let's give them something to talk about, Miller said. Prepare boarding Team Alpha, full containment protocols. Yes, Captain, Lieutenant Okonkwo responded. Team is already suited up and waiting in the launch bay. Miller pressed a button on her chair. Dr. Wright, this is the captain. Are you ready? Dr. Samantha Wright's voice came through the speaker. As ready as we'll ever be for first contact with a new species, Captain. My team has reviewed all available data on Antarian biology. They're silicon-based life forms, but their body structure is surprisingly similar to ours. Good. Be at the landing bay in 10 minutes. I want you there when we bring them aboard. Miller turned back to her bridge crew. Open a channel to the alien vessel. The screen changed to show the interior of the alien ship. A tall, thin being with 4 arms and large eyes stood in what appeared to be their control room. It wore a fitted uniform with markings that probably showed rank. I am Captain Diane Miller of the Earth Defense Command vessel Intrepid. Identify yourself and state your purpose for entering our restricted space. The alien seemed surprised that she spoke their language but recovered quickly. I am Commander Zalvex of the Antarian Science Fleet. We are on a research mission. A research mission that deliberately violated the boundary of a quarantined sector? Miller's voice was calm, but firm. That seems unlikely, Commander. Zalvex hesitated. We detected unusual energy patterns coming from this sector. Patterns that contradict official Galactic Concord records about your civilization's development level. And so you decided to investigate without permission. Interesting. Miller leaned forward. Your vessel is currently held in a containment field. You cannot leave. I am sending a boarding team to your ship. Do not resist or we will be forced to take more serious measures. You cannot do this, Zalvex protested. The Galactic Concord has no authority here, Miller interrupted. You left their protection when you crossed our boundary. She ended the transmission and stood. Lieutenant Okonkwo, you have the bridge. I'm going to the landing bay. As she walked through the ship, Miller thought about what this meant. For centuries, humanity had hidden its true development from the rest of the galaxy. The quarantine established by the Galactic Concord had been useful, allowing Earth to build its colonies and fleets in secret. But now they had visitors, and decisions would need to be made. Zalvex felt fear grip his chest as the transmission ended. He turned to Laren, who looked equally shocked. This is impossible, she said. How do they have this level of technology? The records say they should barely have primitive spacecraft. The records were wrong, Zalvex replied, or deliberately falsified. A young crew member at the sensor station called out, Commander, a small vessel has detached from the larger ship and is approaching us. Zalvex moved to see the display. A sleek craft was heading toward them, carrying what he assumed were boarding troops. What do we do? Laren asked. Zalvex considered their options. They had no weapons. Their engines were disabled by the strange energy field. There was no way to call for help. We cooperate, he decided. We are scientists, not warriors, and we may learn more this way. The crew looked nervous but nodded in agreement. Minutes later, they felt a slight bump as the human craft attached to their airlock. Open the doors, Zalvex ordered. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, the airlock opened to reveal 6 humans in fitted black uniforms. They carried strange devices that Zalvex assumed were weapons. Their faces were mostly hidden behind protective masks with clear visors. The lead human stepped forward. "I am Major Steve Bennett of Earth Defense Command. Your vessel is now under our control. You will follow our instructions and remain calm." Zalvex raised his 4 hands slowly to show he was unarmed. "We will cooperate. We are peaceful researchers." The human nodded. "Good. You and your crew will be transported to our ship for questioning. Bring nothing with you." As they were led to the human craft, Zalvex observed everything he could. The humans moved with practiced efficiency. Their technology was sleek and advanced, nothing like what should exist on a world supposedly at the early stages of space exploration. "The Conquered lied to us," he whispered to Laren as they walked. "They've known about this all along." "But why? Hide it?" she asked. "That's what we need to find out." Dr. Samantha Wright watched through the observation window as the aliens were led into the quarantine chamber. They moved with an odd grace, their 4 arms allowing for more fluid motion than human limbs. "Fascinating," she said, making notes on her datapad. "Their body structure suggests an evolution in a higher gravity environment than Earth." Admiral Frank Rodriguez stood beside her, his face stern. As the highest-ranking military officer on Dow, the Intrepid, he was responsible for security decisions. "I'm more interested in why they're here than how they evolved, Doctor," he said. "This is the first boundary violation in over 50 years. Something has changed out there." Wright nodded. "I understand, Admiral, but understanding their biology might help us understand their motivations." The aliens were guided to seats designed to accommodate their unusual body structure. Captain Miller entered the room, wearing a light protective suit as a precaution. "I apologize for the restrictive measures," she told them, "but this is our standard procedure for first contact situations." Zalvex tilted his large head. "First contact? But your world has been known to the Galactic Concord for thousands of years." "Known, yes," Miller replied, "but contact was forbidden. Your own people helped establish that rule, Commander Zalvex." "Then you know about the Conquered?" "We know a great deal. The question is, what do you know? Why come here now, after all?" This time, Zalvex looked at his crew members, then back to Miller. "We detected energy signatures that shouldn't exist according to official records. The Conquered Council claims that Earth is home to a pre-spaceflight species just beginning to explore their own solar system. But these readings suggested much more advanced technology." Miller smiled slightly. "And what do you see now, Commander?" "That we have been lied to. That your species is far more advanced than we were told." "Yes." Miller pressed a button on a small device she carried. A holographic display appeared, showing dozens of ships and space stations hidden throughout Earth's solar system. "This is just our home system, Commander. One small corner of what we call human space." Zalvex and his crew stared in shock at the display. There were massive shipyards around Jupiter's moons, defensive platforms in the asteroid belt, and what appeared to be jump gates near the edge of the system. "But how?" Laren asked. "How could this be hidden from the entire galaxy?" "Because," Miller explained, "the Galactic Conquered wanted it hidden. The question you should be asking is why." Zalvex felt his world shifting under him. Everything he had believed about the galaxy's history suddenly seemed uncertain. "Tell us," he said quietly. "Tell us why." Miller looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "We will. But first I need to know something. Are you the only ones who know you came here?" A chill went through Zalvex as he remembered the rumors he had heard before departing. "No," he admitted. "The Drevlock are preparing their own expedition. But they aren't coming for research." Miller's expression hardened. "The Drevlock, I see." She touched her communication device. "Admiral, prepare the fleet. We're about to have more visitors." Dr. Samantha Wright studied the medical scans of the Antarian visitors with great interest. The laboratory at Luna Base 1 was the most advanced research facility in the Earth solar system, designed specifically for studying alien biology and technology. Their cellular structure is remarkable, she said to Admiral Rodriguez, who stood nearby watching. Silicon-based rather than carbon, yet they've developed neural pathways very similar to our own. The Admiral nodded but seemed distracted. What about their technology? What can you tell me about their ship? Wright looked up from her screens. Their drive system uses a form of spatial folding we haven't seen before. More efficient than our jump gates, but less powerful. Their weapons are minimal, just basic defensive systems. They weren't expecting trouble, Rodriguez said. Or they wanted to appear harmless. I believe they're genuinely researchers, Wright replied. The medical scans show elevated stress hormones consistent with surprise and fear, not the patterns we'd expect from trained infiltrators. Rodriguez turned as the door opened and Captain Miller entered the laboratory. She looked tired but alert. How are our guests? Miller asked. Physically fine, Wright answered. Confused and frightened but cooperating. Miller nodded. Good, because we need information from them quickly. Our long-range sensors have detected a large vessel approaching the boundary. Based on Commander Salvex's description, it's likely Drevlock. Rodriguez's face darkened. The Concord records describe them as aggressive expansionists. If they're coming here with a warship? Exactly, Miller said. I've already alerted Earth Command. The home fleet is moving into defensive positions, but we need to know what we're dealing with. She moved to a communication panel on the wall. Have Commander Zalvex brought to meeting room 1. It's time he learned a few things about us and told us everything he knows about the Drevlock. Zalvex had never felt so overwhelmed. The small room where he sat contained more technological wonders than he had seen in his entire scientific career. The table itself was a massive display screen showing data and images he could barely comprehend. The door opened and Captain Miller entered, along with a tall, stern-looking human male. Commander Zalvex, this is Admiral Frank Rodriguez of Earth, Defense Command, Miller said as they sat across from him. More military, Zalvex noted. Your species seems very focused on defense. Rodriguez's expression didn't change. With good reason. The galaxy isn't always a friendly place. Miller tapped on the table, and a new image appeared. A large, heavily armed vessel approaching the boundary of human space. We believe this is a Drevlock ship, she said. You mentioned they were planning an expedition here. Tell us everything you know about their intentions. Zalvex studied the image with growing concern. That's a Dominance-class battlecruiser. They wouldn't send that for scientific research. What would they send it for? Rodriguez asked. Conquest, Zalvex said simply. The Drevlock have been pushing against Concord restrictions for centuries. They believe in their right to take whatever they can hold. Miller and Rodriguez exchanged looks. How advanced are their weapon systems? Rodriguez asked. Among the most powerful in the Concord, Zalvex admitted. But he hesitated, looking at the technology around him. I'm beginning to think that means less than I once believed. Miller nodded. You're learning quickly, Commander. She tapped the table again, and the image changed to show the Earth, solar system. I think it's time you understood why your people have been keeping their distance from us for so long. The display zoomed out, showing not just Earth but a network of connected star systems spreading across a significant portion of what humans called the Orion Arm. This is human space, Miller explained. 37 major colony worlds, hundreds of outposts, mining operations, and research stations. We've been expanding for nearly 3 centuries while maintaining the illusion that we're confined to our home planet. Zalvex stared in disbelief. This is impossible. The Concord's sensor networks would have detected this level of development. Unless they were designed not to, Rodriguez said. Or unless what they detected was deliberately misinterpreted. But why? Zalvex asked. Why would the Concord hide this from its own people? Miller's expression grew serious. That's what we've been trying to figure out since we discovered the first ruins on Mars. Something happened between Earth and the rest of the galaxy roughly 12,000 years ago. Something that made the early Concord decide we needed to be isolated. The Great Devastation, Zalvex whispered. The ancient texts mention a terrible conflict that nearly destroyed several civilizations. But the details were lost. Or removed. Not lost, Miller corrected. Hidden. We've found records, in ruins on several planets that suggest humanity wasn't the primitive species portrayed in your histories. We were spacefaring long before the current era. Zalvex felt a chill run through him. You're saying humans were advanced 12,000 years ago, then somehow fell, and have now risen again? That's our working theory, Rodriguez said. And we think the Conquered knows more about it than they've shared with their member worlds. Miller stood up. But right now we have a more immediate problem. If the Drevlock are coming here looking for conquest, they're about to make a terrible mistake. War Chief Krasnar stood on the command deck of the Inevitable Dominance, his massive form towering over the other Drevlock officers. His species had evolved from apex predators, and it showed in their powerful bodies and sharp teeth. Status report, he demanded. His second-in-command approached with a datapad. We will reach the boundary of Sector 17-339 in 10 hours. War, Chief. Our sensors detect no defensive systems along the approach. And the research vessel? No communication since they entered the sector. Their last transmission indicated they had discovered something significant. Krasnar's mouth formed what passed for a smile among his kind. Then we shall discover it, as well, and take it for the glory of the Drevlock Empire. He turned to the tactical officer. Prepare a ground assault team. Target their largest population center. I want to see how these primitive Earthers respond to a show of force. The crew worked with efficient brutality, preparing weapons and dropships. Like all Drevlock, they had been raised on stories of conquest and the right of the strong to rule the weak. War Chief, the sensor operator called out. I'm detecting unusual energy readings near the fourth planet of the target system. What kind of readings? Unknown, sir. They appeared briefly, then vanished. Almost as if something was there, then disappeared. Krasnar dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Sensor ghosts. This sector has always been known for strange readings. It's why the cowards and the conquered fear it. He turned back to the main view screen, watching as they approached their destination. The Antarians came seeking knowledge. We come seeking power. By this time tomorrow, Sector 17-339 will belong to the Drevlock, and whatever secrets it holds will be ours. Back on Luna Base, Alan Garner rushed into the command center with a datapad. Captain Miller, he called. We've received the full scan report on the approaching Drevlock vessel. Miller turned from her conversation with Admiral Rodriguez and Commander Zalvex. What have you found? It's heavily armed, as we suspected. Energy weapons, missile systems, and what appears to be a mass driver capable of launching projectiles at near light speed. Zalvex looked alarmed. That's a planet-killer weapon. They couldn't possibly be planning to use that against Earth? They're planning exactly that, Rodriguez said grimly. Standard Drevlock tactics. Demonstrate overwhelming force, demand surrender, then take whatever they want. Miller's face showed no fear, only determination. Then we'll need to adjust their expectations. She turned to a communications officer. Send word to the Third Fleet. Deploy to Mars orbital position, stealth protocols in effect. Let's welcome our new visitors properly. Zalvex watched in growing amazement as humans prepared for battle with a calm efficiency that spoke of long practice. You don't seem worried, he said to Miller. She gave him a small smile. There's an old human saying, Commander. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. I don't understand the reference, Zalvex admitted. You will, Miller assured him. Very soon. Admiral Jack Spencer of the Third Fleet watched the tactical display as the alien warship approached Mars orbit. His command center aboard the flagship Guardian was quiet, except for the soft beeping of equipment and the occasional murmured report from his officers. 20 ships in standard defensive formation, reported Commander Nicole Barnes, his tactical officer. All weapon systems ready. Stealth fields functioning at 100%. Spencer nodded. The Third Fleet was Earth's primary response force for this sector. His 20 ships ranged from fast attack vessels to heavy destroyers, all hidden by advanced stealth technology that made them invisible to standard sensors. The Drevlock ship is still following its original course, Barnes continued. No indication they've detected us. Good, Spencer said. Let's keep it that way until we decide how to handle this. A communication officer turned from his station. Admiral, incoming message from Luna Base. Captain Miller requests a direct channel. Put her through. The main screen changed to show Captain Miller's face. Commander Zalvex stood behind her, his large eyes taking in the human command center, with obvious surprise. Admiral Spencer, Miller said formally. This is Commander Zalvex of the Antarian Science Fleet. He has valuable information about our approaching visitors. Spencer studied the alien briefly. I'm listening. The Drevlock are known for their aggressive expansion, Zalvex explained. They respect only strength and consider diplomacy a weakness. Their standard tactic is to demonstrate overwhelming force, then demand surrender. That matches our intelligence, Spencer acknowledged. Any specific weaknesses we should know about? Their ships have strong frontal shields but weaker protection on the lower rear sections. Their crews are disciplined but rigid in their thinking. They don't adapt well to unexpected situations. Spencer considered this information. Thank you, Commander. Captain Miller, what's your recommendation? Let them make the first move, Miller replied. If they're here for peaceful exploration, they'll follow standard procedures. If not, she let the implication hang in the air. Understood. We'll maintain position and observe. Spencer out. The screen returned to showing the tactical display. The Drevlock battlecruiser was massive, nearly a kilometer long, bristling with weapon emplacements. It had slowed as it approached Mars, clearly scanning the red planet. They're looking for something, Spencer muttered. Sir, his sensor officer called out. The alien vessel has launched small craft, 4 ships, heading toward the Ares research station on the Martian surface. Spencer leaned forward. Show me. The display zoomed in on the 4 ships descending toward Mars. They were clearly military dropships designed for fast deployment of ground troops. Intentions? He asked. Based on their approach vector and speed, this appears to be an assault formation, Barnes replied. They're armed. Spencer's expression hardened. So that's how it's going to be. He pressed a communication button. All ships, this is Admiral Spencer. The Drevlock have launched an attack on our Mars facility. We are now operating under Protocol 7. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their dropships. Disable only. I want to send a message, not start a war if we can avoid it. Yes, sir. Targeting systems locked. Spencer took a deep breath. Humanity had prepared for this day for centuries, developing technology and tactics specifically designed to deal with potential alien threats. Now they would see if all that preparation was enough. Fire. War Chief Krasnar watched with satisfaction as the assault team launched toward the Martian surface. The primitive research station they had detected would be an easy target, giving them a foothold on the planet and prisoners to interrogate. Ground team reports ready for landing, his tactical officer announced. No resistance detected. Excellent. Once they've secured the facility, prepare the main landing force. I want... He was interrupted by sudden alarms blaring across the command deck. What is happening? He demanded. Unknown energy signatures, the sensor operator shouted. Multiple sources appearing from nowhere. The main screen showed chaos. Beams of intense blue light had struck all 4 of their dropships simultaneously, cutting through their shields as if they weren't there. The craft tumbled helplessly, their engines disabled. Impossible, Krasnar growled. Where did the attack come from? Before anyone could answer, the space around them seemed to ripple like a pond disturbed by thrown stones. Where there had been empty vacuum moments before, 20 warships now appeared, surrounding the inevitable dominance in a perfect sphere formation. The communication system activated without command, and a human face appeared on their screen. Drevlock, vessel, the human said calmly. This is Admiral Jack Spencer of the Earth Defense Command 3rd Fleet. Your unprovoked attack on our research facility is an act of war. Power down your weapons and engines immediately. Krasnar snarled in rage and disbelief. What trickery is this? Earth has no fleet. They are primitives, barely able to reach their own moon. I assure you, Spencer replied with a slight smile, We are far from primitive. This is your only warning. Stand down, or we will disable your vessel. Krasnar turned to his weapons officer. Target the nearest ship and fire all weapons. Show these humans the power of the Drevlock Empire. On the Guardian, Spencer watched as the alien battlecruiser's weapons powered up. They're targeting the Vigilant, Barnes reported. Energy weapons charging. Spencer shook his head slightly. I was hoping they'd be smarter than that. Execute Pattern Delta. Disable their weapons and engines. Try not to kill anyone if possible. Yes, sir. What followed was a demonstration of overwhelming precision. 6 human ships fired simultaneously, their advanced energy weapons striking key points on the Drevlock vessel. The massive alien ship shuddered as its main power systems failed. Its weapons powered down and it began drifting slowly in space. Target neutralized, Barnes reported. Their engines and weapons are offline. Life support and artificial gravity, still functioning. Good shooting, Spencer said. Prepare boarding teams. I want that ship secured before they can get systems back online. He opened a channel to Luna Base. Captain Miller, the situation is under control. The Drevlock chose the hard way. Miller's face appeared on screen with Zalvek still visible behind her. The Antarian looked stunned. Well done, Admiral, Miller said. Any casualties? None on our side. Unknown for the Drevlock, but their ship is intact. We disabled them with minimal damage. Zalvek stepped forward. This is impossible. The Drevlock battlecruiser is one of the most powerful warships in the Concord. How could you disable it so easily? Spencer gave him a level look. The same way we've remained hidden for centuries, Commander. We developed technology no one expected us to have. Admiral, Miller interjected, I recommend bringing the Drevlock leadership to Luna Base for negotiations. It's time they understood the situation they've blundered into. Agreed. I'll have War Chief Krasnar transported as soon as we've secured his vessel. As the communication ended, Spencer turned back to the tactical display. The once mighty Drevlock ship now floated powerless, surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere to defeat it in seconds. Send this recording to Earth Command, he ordered. They'll want to see how the new weapon systems performed. Yes, sir, Barnes replied. Should I include Commander Zalvek's reaction in the report? Spencer allowed himself a small smile. Definitely. I think the shock on his face says everything about how well our secrecy has worked all these years. As boarding teams prepared to enter the disabled alien vessel, Spencer couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. The galaxy had just discovered that humans were not the primitives everyone believed them to be. The rule that had kept Earth isolated was broken forever, and the consequences would reshape everything. The Galactic Concord Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 87 member species filled the massive room, their voices creating a constant buzz of nervous conversation. News had spread quickly throughout the Oe galaxy. The quarantine around Sector 17339 had been breached, and the rumors about what was found there were almost too incredible to believe. Supreme Elder Vostalen, the ancient leader of the Concord Council, looked out over the assembly from his elevated position. His species was one of the founding members of the Concord, and tradition held that they always provided the Supreme Elder. This emergency session will come to order, he announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. Gradually the noise died down as all eyes turned toward him. As you all know, we face an unprecedented situation, Vostalen continued. The quarantine around Earth has been violated, first by an unauthorized Antarian research mission, and then by a Drevlock military expedition. Both actions were in direct violation of our most sacred law. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Many representatives looked at the Antarian and Drevlock sections, where only junior officials sat. Their senior representatives had not returned from Earth. What the Concord did not expect, Vostalen said, was that Earth would respond by sending its own representatives here. For the first time in 12,000 years, humans have requested to address this council. The chamber doors opened, and a group of humans entered. They walked with confidence, wearing simple but elegant uniforms. At their head was a woman whose bearing suggested both authority and diplomatic skill. I present Ambassador Olivia Martinez of Earth, Vostalen announced. The room fell silent as Martinez reached the central speaking position. Beside her stood Commander Zalvex and a subdued war chief Krasnar, both clearly there as witnesses. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Concord," Martinez began, her voice clear and strong. "For 3,000 years your alliance has maintained a quarantine around my homeworld. You have told your people that Earth is home to a primitive species barely able to leave their own planet. Today that story ends." She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed Earth at first, then expanded to reveal a vast network of colonized worlds and space stations spread across dozens of star systems. "This is the reality of human space," Martinez said. "While you believed us contained, we have built colonies on 37 major worlds. We have developed technology that matches or exceeds your own. We have prepared for this day, the day when the truth could no longer be hidden." The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Many representatives stood, shouting questions or demands. Vostalen called for order repeatedly before the noise subsided. "This is impossible," shouted the Drevlock representative. "No species could hide such expansion." Martinez looked directly at him. "Your war chief Krasnar believed the same thing. He discovered his error when his battle cruiser was disabled in seconds by our fleet." Krasnar growled, but did not deny her words. "The question," Martinez continued, "is why the quarantine was established in the first place. Why the Concord has worked so hard to keep humanity isolated and hidden." All eyes turned to Vostalen. The ancient leader seemed suddenly tired. "You must understand our caution, Ambassador," he said finally. "The historical records speak of the great devastation, a war that nearly destroyed our ancestor species. The quarantine was established to prevent such destruction from ever happening again. But those records were incomplete," Martinez countered. "Deliberately so." She nodded to an aide, who activated another holographic display. This one showed ancient images recovered from ruins on multiple planets. They depicted humans fighting alongside other species against a shadowy enemy. "We've discovered our own historical records in colonies established before the devastation," Martinez explained. "Humanity wasn't the aggressor in that ancient conflict. We were the peacekeepers. We fought to protect younger species from an outside threat." Vostalen looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "Tell them the truth, Elder," Martinez pressed. "Some of you have known all along." The chamber was completely silent now, every being waiting for Vostalan's response. "It is true," he admitted finally. "The complete records show that humans were once among the most advanced species in the galaxy. They used their power not for conquest but for protection. When the great enemy came from beyond the galactic rim, humans led the alliance that defeated them." He looked up at the silent chamber. "But the cost was terrible. Earth was devastated, human civilization collapsed. The survivors retreated to their homeworld and lost all memory of their former greatness. And instead of helping us rebuild," Martinez said, "the early Concord decided to keep us isolated, to hide the truth from us, and from your own people." "We feared," Vostalen said quietly, "what would happen when humans regained their power, whether you would remember your role as protectors or seek revenge for your abandonment." Martinez looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various representatives. "We have no desire for revenge or conquest. But make no mistake, humanity will defend itself and its allies with all necessary force. The rule of isolation is over. The era of cooperation begins today. On equal terms." She turned to Commander Zalvex. "The Antarians came seeking knowledge. They will be the first to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth." Then she looked at Krasnar. "The Drevlock came seeking conquest. They have been shown the futility of that approach, but we are prepared to forgive this first mistake, provided there are no more." Krasnar, once proud and fierce, simply nodded. His encounter with human military power had clearly left a deep impression. Martinez turned back to the council at large. "We offer friendship to all peaceful species. We offer our protection against any who would threaten galactic stability. And we ask for truth, the full truth about our shared history. Vostolen stood facing the human ambassador. For a moment, the ancient leader and the representative of humanity regarded each other in silence. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. "The quarantine is ended," he declared. "Earth is recognized as a sovereign power within the galaxy. The Conquered welcomes humanity's return to the stars." The chamber filled with the sounds of amazement, fear, and, from some corners, cautious applause. Outside the council chamber, Captain Miller stood with Admiral Rodriguez, watching the proceedings. On a screen. "Do you think it will work?" Miller asked quietly. "This new relationship with the Conquered?" Rodriguez smiled slightly. "Some will resist, others will adapt. But they don't have much choice, do they? We've been preparing for this moment for centuries." He gestured to a nearby viewport, where Earthships could be seen in orbit around the Concord homeworld. The vessels were not threatening, merely present, a reminder of humanity's newfound place in the galactic order. "The rule of the Milky Way has been broken," Rodriguez said, "and a new chapter begins." Miller nodded, looking out at the stars that had been forbidden to humanity for so long. "I wonder what they'll think when they learn about our exploration beyond the Orion Arm." Rodriguez laughed softly. "One revelation at a time, Captain. One revelation at a time."